When you are standing at an Atlanta airport and you realize one kid has COVID, I'm losing 2 tickets to go to Europe, but my husband and my other kid have to get to Europe because they have the dogs. And you're looking at your husband and you just want to rage because you're like, this is not how it was supposed to be. The marriage is forged in those moments because you can be enemies or you can be partners in this thing.
Welcome to Evolve Leadership, the arena where high-achieving leaders are challenged to redefine their limits. My name is Angus. I grew up in the United States and I now live in Lisbon, Portugal. I'm an executive coach and I've spent my career advising and training leaders from startups to Fortune 500 companies. And here's what I've learned. An old, ineffective leadership framework will always keep you on a hamster wheel, consumed with work-life balance, burnout, and stress. Here on the show, each week we'll help you rethink the path to achievement. We'll help you discover new principles, new philosophies to the modern leader. Look, the world is relentlessly changing, demanding a new era of leaders. It's time to redefine your limits. So enter the arena, my friend. It's time to evolve.
Well, welcome out to the Evolve Leadership Show. Today, we are talking about taking a big dream and seeing it realized. And Angus, you and Samantha get asked all the time. And now me and Sandra get asked all the time. Now that we moved from the United States to Lisbon, Portugal, how do you do it? What was it like for the kids? And many times in encountering a big dream, there's a lot that goes into it. And that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
When you are standing at an Atlanta airport and you realize one kid has COVID, I'm losing 2 tickets to go to Europe, but my husband and my other kid have to get to Europe because they have the dogs and the USDA paperwork is expiring today and they have to go. And you're looking at your husband and you just want to rage because you're like, this is not how it was supposed to be. It's like, the marriage is forged in those moments because you can be enemies or you can be partners in this thing. Yeah. And so you learn the partnership, I mean, you learn that you can't be each other's punching bag during these changes. You learn all these things. And so when people look at our lives and they go, wow, you went from Nashville to Portugal. Amazing. And we're
Good
like,
for you.
We're like, your marriage is so great. It's like, you want to know how our marriage is great? Because we duped it out in between on the path to get here,
I remember going through the airport when we were parting ways. I don't know if we even kissed. Goodbye.
No, we were like, go.
She's like, go.
We were
and
fighting.
She was taking the dogs through the customs through their
We were
thing.
late.
And Duncan and I are in full-blown sprint. His water bottle kept falling out of his backpack.
The dog's cage is literally flipping over in the thing because they were balancing on the cart, and our dog is 80 pounds was walking and the cart flipped over. I mean, when I say
a shit show.
When I say this guy's my ride or die, because literally we have gone places and we stuck together.
And to the point where, even after everything kind of settled down, flash forward, we went and sold the house last year. Yeah. After, almost 2 years of rented it out. We put it on the market, and then all of a sudden the pool collapsed. We had an above ground pool that was inserted into a deck. Yeah. And we had just put the house on the market that week.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
The house has been on the market for 3 days.
We had our first showing, and that's how we found out the pool collapsed, because the realtor who was coming to look at the pool said, "What's up with the pool, guys?" And it was completely destroyed. And we were
exploded all over.
It had exploded, and we were like, we didn't know that happened.
A 33-foot pool was washed everything out into
just like that. See that demonstration?
It's
like this.
Your commitment to that was amazing.
Okay, we're gonna clean that up.
Okay.
The flood cleaned up.
Get it cleaned up. All right.
And if I can't swim after 40.
A gauntlet of life.
And just a comment, whether somebody's a person of faith or not, it's almost like the universe loves to take major transitions and use it to grow us if we'll let it. Like there's plenty of times we can reject it and just go back into our old patterns or old ways, stay playing small, as you often refer to it, Angus. But we step out to do something new, or there's a transition, you're getting married, you have children, or move across the freaking globe. Yeah. It's like you have an opportunity to grow. It's not just all the other great stuff that's on the other side. It's the universe giving us an opportunity to step into a new place of being, a new level of maturity that is going to benefit us so much more even than all the stuff that's over here. And many times it's leaning into that and understanding it as opposed to fighting it, which I usually like to do and which I've done during this whole time in many ways. If you can embrace it, then you can end up growing. You end up in a better place.
Earlier, you talked about if you keep kicking the can down the field, or however you wanted to say it.
Yeah.
Pushing it, saying maybe later, maybe we'll do this later in the future someday. It gets harder to do. Talk about that.
Yeah. I think for me, I had really limited the how. So like I had this idea that our businesses were going to make X amount of revenue. That would be enough to get us there. And then that is the how. And then when that got frustrated and at different moments, why wasn't this revenue coming in? I guess it's not meant to be. Almost taking a victim mentality. Now, no one would ever say that. We don't go, I'm a victim,
Right.
But it was this idea of it's out of my hands. We didn't make the revenue.
The how that we have theorized here it's not happening in the way that we thought it was. So then stake in the ground.
That must mean the door has closed.
The door is closed.
Like a sign. And so many times resistance is not a sign. It's just there's another door that's waiting to be opened. And the what is still there for us. The universe has that what. God has that what ready for us, right? Is inside you for a reason. Yeah. It's not by accident. But there has to be a sense of openness, like you guys were talking about, where I think an abundance mindset, a new mindset just says, okay, how is it going to work out this time? Yeah. How's it? And for us, we got a couple of offers on our house that we had in Alabama, and it was double of what we bought it for just a few years earlier. We had plans on keeping that, forever, retiring with that passive income coming in. And it came down to that why again. I'll regret it for the rest of my life. And as soon as we put it on the market, bang, it got snapped up, full price. Yeah. And it's almost like the universe kind of just saying, see?
It's like a double dog dare. Yeah. It's like, do you want this?
Yeah.
Do you want this? Let's see how bad you want it. And then like, if you just push through that little threshold, it's like, like things open up to you in ways that you didn't even imagine.
Yeah.
And we're so like blind to the like possibilities of what the universe can give us.
Yeah.
We think in such small capacities. And we think it's only going to look like this. And even our own dream, like if I could just get to Europe, if I could just give my kids this experience. And then you get here and it's like the people, the food, the adventures, the love that we share, the connection, the independence our kids have. Like you guys coming here is like more than you can dream, more than you can imagine, more than you could even fathom. If you would just get out of the box that you've limited yourself in.
Yeah.
And this is where people are at all the time. They're like, they just think their lot in life is their lot in life. Yeah. But we are powerful creators. And it's like, what do you want to create? You have one life. We're at freaking Taylor Swift and I'm watching Taylor Swift. I can't believe I'm comparing myself to this equation, but I'm sitting in the audience watching Taylor Swift and I'm like, there's a master of her craft. And the question that came up in my gut was, what are the areas of your life that you're not projecting yourself out into the world with this same level of audacity?
Yeah.
And we've been pretty audacious. But even then, it's like, I just want to live in my fullness.
Yeah.
I want to maximize and optimize all the things in my life that I possibly can. And the only thing that can stop me from doing that is me.
Well, and I think that so many people say, well, that's for you. Like those big kind of moves, those big kind of dreams, like that's for you. That's not for me. You don't know my story. And I think the thing that we have come to realize is that this type of lifestyle where you're dreaming big and you're going after something is for everyone.
Yeah.
It is possible for everyone.
I was just going to ask, it might not look like a move across the country, across the world.
It is for whatever you are dreaming about, you know, and the resistance that comes up. I love what you said. The resistance shouldn't be the thing that keeps you back. It should be the thing that goes, I'm growing in this. Yeah. It shouldn't be the sign not to do it.
It's actually the opposite. It's the sign, oh, there's something here, right? There's something here, especially if it's an internal resistance. Because I think when I was in that spot of it's just not working out, I guess it's not meant to be. It puts you in a passive place. It puts you in a victim mentality where things are happening to you. And it was having, okay, well, what other ways could the income come through to get there? We started playing around with it, found out the appraisal on the house, and we're like, oh. And then it was an internal resistance. Like this was my financial security for part later on was, different homes that we had.
And not only that, but at one point in our life, our dream was to get a bunch of rental properties and to build, that was going to be our passive income. And so we were on that track and we felt we were being led in that track. And so that was at one moment a dream that we were going and moving towards. And so then when it came on the table as this could be a how, and we had to potentially let go of that. Sometimes it was the dreams of the past that you held on to, not in a bad way. You were holding this dream. You were holding space for this dream until you realize that you almost have to hand in that one to get the next one. And it's like, but that was so scary because it's actually asking to hand in something that's great for something that's even better, over and over again. That became a pattern where it was, we had to trust God to give him something that was working so well. Not that it wasn't working. Yeah. Oh, this thing isn't working. Lead us down the right road. Things were working. Things were comfortable. Things were thriving, and all these different things I've mentioned. And then we have to hand that in for trust. And a bit of it is this unknown. Like you're handing in this really great thing that you've worked really hard at.
Which for you in this moment was a house. Yeah. And now we're trusting and putting that in God's hands. And then but this is a big unknown. We know we want this next thing, but there's filled with unknown. It's filled with risk. Yeah. It's filled with challenge. And we have to press into discomfort to get that. That doesn't seem like a great deal. Until it works out.
Yeah. But that's the thing is most people think it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Like they shoot it in the foot before they even step into it.
Yeah.
And isn't that an element of control though? Like, let's be honest, many of us are control freaks. This is how we go about life.
Speak for yourself.
This is my dream.
Yeah.
And then going through life like this will absolutely bring you down.
Yeah.
It'll absolutely limit your ability to capture and step into that next thing. And the only way from going to this level to this other thing that you know in your bones you're supposed to do or you're supposed to be a part of or something like that is to walk through life open-handed, right? Where something can come in for a season, and that house and that city was amazing for that season we were in. And going to the next thing, you have to keep it with open-handed.
Yeah. I do also feel like it's important to say that there's no guarantees that things work out.
Yep.
We're talking about a move to Portugal and that all the risks that we took and the things that we did, it worked out. But there are times when you do big risks and it doesn't work out, or it seems like it doesn't go according to, it took a curve that you didn't expect. Yeah. We bought a house in Nashville prior to the one that we had. And And then you were working. I had given up my career. I had stayed home and homeschooled the kids. And then you were working, and we thought it was going. We thought, okay, this is it. This is what we did. Yep. And then you lost your job.
Yep. Got laid off. And then we were like, oh no, well, something will happen, right? You'll find a job, right? Maybe this is it. No, it didn't work. Maybe this is it. No, it didn't work. We have to make mortgage soon. Is this it? No, it didn't work. And I'm buying Christmas gifts for our kids from a church donation area that Christmas because we didn't have enough money for Christmas. We couldn't eat and pay mortgage and get Christmas gifts. Yep. Let me tell you, it doesn't always work out how you think it will. But in that moment, we ended up, okay, let's sell the house. Let's get out from under that. Pay off the debt.
Pay off our debt. Let's move into a 2-bedroom. We moved from a 3,000 square foot house, 3-car garage, beautiful home to a 2-bedroom apartment that we were renting. And let me tell you what, that could look like it didn't work out, but there was stuff in that season that prepared us for this.
Right.
Yeah. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing today.
No way.
Had we not gone through that.
No way. So it doesn't always work out, quote unquote, but man, it's working out.
It always works out. It always works out.
It's working out for you, even in the nose, even in the curves, even when you are in a church parking lot getting free Christmas gifts for your kids. It is working out for you.
Yeah,
so I want everybody to know that because it doesn't always look like it works.
Right.
But when you live this way, we talk about in that 2-bedroom apartment, we hosted Christmas for our families and it was like, we didn't miss a beat in that tiny apartment. We had a blast in that 2-bedroom apartment.
And Angus, some of your coaching videos.
I was just going to say.
It was shot from your first coaching videos.
Some of the videos that we currently use in our curriculum for our program.
What?
That we still use are from when we lived in that 2-bedroom apartment. And I threw the camera up and I spoke faith and I spoke belief. Yeah. Even though our life didn't necessarily reflect it. But I was like, this is what we're building. This is what we're doing. And there's probably 3 or 4 videos from that collection that are still being used today because of the level of authenticity and reality and the fact that we're living this shit. We're doing exactly what it instructed.
You launched that program.
You launched it from the 2-bedroom apartment.
And let me tell you what, in that 2-bedroom apartment is the first time you wrote a number of on the mirror. I want to make $25,000 a month. And I said, are you an idiot? Have we learned nothing? We are in a 2-bedroom apartment, sir. You get that number off that mirror right now. It made me angry because I was like, we are out here living in the sticks, eating peanut butter and jelly, and you're out here dreaming big dreams. You want to start a business? What?
And there's another number just outside this studio that I look at and I go, is he crazy?
M with $1 million on it?
Because let me tell you what, it wasn't but a few, maybe a year that we made that number on the mirror.
What?
And I said, oh, I need to shut my mouth. I need to let the dream simmer because this is a way of existing in the world.
Sure is.
Let me just pause for a second to say this. There is one trait that you will find in every successful leader, no matter their industry, no matter their role. And that trait is action. And we want to inspire ambitious leaders like you to bet on yourself and take action on those audacious goals that you see in your heart. That's why we created our 90-day accelerator. It's a results-driven, battle-tested framework designed specifically for high-performing leaders like you to get unstuck and propel you towards your goals. And in just 90 days, you won't even recognize the person you used to be. To be a part of this elite community, go to evolveleadership.org. Now, back to the show. I think that open-handed life is that it views failure differently. I remember I was paralyzed in a lot of ways by a failure early on. Early on in my career, everything I touched turned to gold. It felt like I was on track to be in senior leadership in the organization I was a part of. Everything was great except for this one event was a big flop. And from that point on, the people who were kind of overseeing me at the time said, I don't think Timm's ready for this next step. And I remember in my bones, up until about a year ago, carrying that as a bar of shame, a badge of shame. And I know a lot of people, we run into that failure, that failed business, that failed marriage, whatever it is, we end up in this spot where it defines us in some way. We have that as, we think of it and it's like we wince because it was failure. You know, it was, I'm not enough. I don't have what it takes in that area. And I remember I love therapy, by the way. It's been so great. And my therapist reflected me back, what came out of that? What happened because of that? And I said, well, they ended up having to lay me off. And then we moved to Alabama next to you guys. I got my master's degree. And then all of a sudden this whole beautiful life started. She said, what had happened if that didn't happen? I'm like, well, I probably would have got in senior leadership. We would have never lived in the same city, like this whole, and all of a sudden this reframe of this beautiful story the universe was laying out. Like, I thought it was a failure. Yeah. I thought it was a badge on me. I thought I was going to, cross the country with my tail between my legs because I couldn't cut it. And yet it was God and the universe pushing us into our greatest thing on the other side of that. And so I think this open-handed living is not, like you were saying, Sam, it's not guarantee of success. It is this idea that no matter what is thrown at us, no matter what setbacks, no matter what internal or external resistance, is that life is happening for me, not to me. Life, there is abundant, there is resource, influence, fulfillment on the other end. If I can stay growing and I can stay with my hand held open, not trying to control it, but just trying to step into those things as they present it.
And sticking with it. Cause that was when you tell this story, it sounds like it was, one jump to the next, but it was like a while and seeing the unfolding of what would happen. I mean, it sometimes happens in a while. You have to stick with it. And again, that not putting a stake in the ground that says, well, that was the end of that, because really it could be just the beginning and it's, or just a part of the journey, just a twist in the turn. And it's just the only requirement is continuing to allow and continuing to stay open and continuing to say, okay, that's not the end. I'm going to trust you anyway. I'm going to move forward anyway and not close up that big dream shop and in your mind and your heart, and continue to stay open, like you said.
And I think the biggest thing there you just clarified is like, keep the dream shop open, right? And it's not a dream shop that's just out there. The dream shop is like when the dream comes here. And it's like, I am actively in co-creation of the dream. And life is shaping me and preparing me and forming me. And like, again, anyone that's sitting here listening, if you go through your life and you start thinking about things like, oh my gosh, I did this because I did that. And I was able to do this because, and you start connecting the dots. And this is this thing where we understand like life has prepared me for this.
Yeah.
I would not be as humble. Thank you. I would not be.
I'm the most humble person on the face of the planet.
Empathetic. I would not be as audacious and fearless had I not gone through all that shit. Our marriage would not be as strong and durable and connected and intimate had we not gone through that shit. Our relationship would not be as amazing and durable and candid had we not gone through all of our shit, especially you and me, right?
That's in a different podcast.
Especially, he pointed at Sandra. Sandra and Angus have a special
Really
bond.
clear about that.
Let's clarify that for listeners.
And as long as I do what she says, well, everything's okay.
Yeah.
And this thing is like, we just get to this point where we start realizing that we don't have to work so hard to try and control, to your point. But rather the work that we do is this like continually letting go, continuing to just be open and continue to just be curious and to pursue the things that our heart, our spirit, our soul, our intuition is whispering to us is for a reason.
Yeah.
And you can trust that.
And you can trust
A part of our brain, maybe your inner critic will tell you can't trust that. It's not safe, because your inner critic's job is to keep you safe. And dreaming in this way and risking and putting it on the line is not necessarily safe. You have
Not
to
perceived safe.
It's not perceived as safe. You have to press into that discomfort.
Yeah.
So, Sammy, you have a few questions for the group. Fire away.
I do, because I think when people think about moving to Portugal, they have some questions for us that I definitely want to address, because I know there's a lot of curiosity about it. So we get asked some questions very frequently. And so I thought, did you bring anything with you? That's the question that we get asked a lot. So just rapid fire questions. Did you bring anything with you to Portugal?
Not much. We purposely went minimalistic to let go of stuff. Like, stuff doesn't matter. We even sold our house. We still have a storage somewhere in Alabama full of stuff that we won't use.
Yeah.
And we don't know how to get rid of it, but letting go of stuff because there's new stuff here.
How many bags did you bring?
We brought
Just 2 each.
2 each.
We have a family of 6, and we had 2 bags each. That's all we came off.
12 plus whatever.
All of our
carry-ons,
possessions. Yep.
Okay. And we brought 13 bags.
14 bags.
We brought clothes. That's what we brought. We did not bring anything else.
We brought specific things we couldn't necessarily get here, or specific brands. Like a lot of our pharmaceutical drugs, stuff like that, drugstore. Didn't know what was on the shelves here. So wanted to make sure we had at least enough to get our comfort zone customized to it.
What about the language? Did you know Portuguese before you moved here?
No.
No fala português.
No.
We were on an app learning some, and then we, No.
When we landed, we knew how to say, please, excuse me,
Thank you.
and thank you.
Did you visit Portugal before you got here, just to make sure you wanted to be here?
That's a question we get asked a lot, and we did not know. We walked the streets on Google Maps.
Google Maps.
And so even
And
now
YouTube.
I'll walk around and YouTube. We watched a lot of videos on YouTube, but no, we did not.
And most of the people, like, it's like it's one of two things. They either did scouting trips or they just moved cold.
Yeah.
Rarely is there like an in-between.
Yeah. Did your kids make friends? How is that going?
We're relatively new here, and our kids are your kids' best friends and vice versa. So yes, they did. But outside of that, outside of like jujitsu or other things like that, not yet, because we're relatively
Work in progress.
new. We've been here 3 months. So
Yeah. And we've been here 2 years. And our kids have made friends.
Yep.
They mostly are English speaking friends because it's still a little bit hard for them to have friends that solely speak Portuguese.
Yeah.
Will you go back to the States?
I kind of had that question down too, because lots of people ask me, don't you have a kid who's about to go to college? Like, are they going to come back to the States? And are you going to come back when she goes to college? And she even has a scholarship back home. She auditioned and got accepted to a school and got offered their highest scholarship in New York City. But she said, I think I want to stay on this side of the pond. And she's looking at schools in London and Barcelona. And I don't at this time foresee us going back. At this point.
My thought is it's indefinite. It's very much like
It's
this.
open.
Number one, I don't miss the U.S. right now. Like, and it's not because I don't love my country. It's that there is so much new things to explore. And you know how people get really homesick, and we've run into a few people that were really homesick and then had to go back. I think for us, there's a built-in desire for adventure. And so what I do think is after about 5 years or so, we're going to look to move again, but it's likely another part of Europe. It's like, guys, let's go to Spain now. Let's finally do that. And
We don't have any plans to go back to the States, but we don't have any idea. Do you have any other questions that people often ask you?
You asked a question about the kids and did they make friends? Another question we get a lot is, what are they doing for school? And our families are doing really different things. Our kids are in an international online school. And so, and then you guys.
Our kids are in a Portuguese school.
Yeah.
We put them into a Portuguese speaking private school. And so we threw them in because, that's how it is in this family. You sink or swim.
Jump in.
You jump in with both feet. And that's it's hard. They are learning the language. Been here 2 years and they are not fluent. They can understand a bit and they can speak a bit.
Right.
Crazy.
Any other questions that you guys get?
Yeah. So one of the questions I get asked is, what do you do for work? And we are digital nomads. That's the beauty of this interconnected interwebs, is that all of our clients, we meet online with them and we get to set our own hours, usually based on our clients' availability. So Angus, I know sometimes some of your clients, you're up till 10 finishing up your calls.
I've gotten better.
Yeah.
So when I started, it was really late. And now we slowly have gotten to where I've gotten people to schedule their stuff, a little bit more appropriately. Generally speaking, most of the US, North American based companies or whatever, they will work like a US hour. So for some of them, if they have, California hours, that can be a little
trickier.
And so if you schedule like all of our client calls in their mornings, for us, it's fantastic. So we get up in the morning, walk the dogs, have breakfast, a cup of coffee, and we don't really get our day started till 11 or 12 o'clock. I've already been to the gym and played around. We hung out. Then we start our day, and then I usually wrap it up by 7 or 8 p.m. So there's a little bit of a shift, but it's normal for Portuguese culture. I mean, the party doesn't start till 8 or 9. For dinners, a lot of times dinners like, oh yeah, we have a reservation for 10. I'm like, I'm normally in bed by 10. So that's the life here. Yeah. If you go to the restaurant, they just opened at 7 p.m. You're the only people in the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's not till like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then the place is just hopping.
Right.
So Angus, a lot of people ask about the food. What's the difference between American food and Portuguese food?
Generally speaking, and it's Portuguese particularly, like all the vegetables and fruit here is fresh.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it, it's similar to like California, where it's like just in the valley, everything is grown. The wineries, like very much like California. So everything that you can kind of imagine about, California and its produce and everything is here, except if you don't eat it within like 3 days, like it goes bad.
It's gone. Yep.
There's no preservatives. There's no like additives. There's no anything.
I think the hardest thing is shopping in the grocery store. That takes about quadruple the time than it did in the States, because you have to translate every label. And for about 4 months, we did not know where the milk was. We thought milk was only sold on the shelves, but it was only because we didn't know what milk looked like in the refrigerator. And then we discovered, that's the box for milk.
Yeah.
And then we got cold milk. But
it's funny, when we go into the supermarket, we feel like massive gluttons, like that, because we have a family of 6 and the shopping carts are like a quarter of the size that they are in the US, because many Portuguese just shop for the day, right? Or they just shop for a couple of days. Yeah. And we're usually, trying to shop for the week. Yeah. And you try to fit all this stuff and then we have to carry it home. We don't have a car. Yeah. And, it's not too far of a walk, maybe an 8-minute walk, but we're packing everything. So we have to do this little.
We get from people in the stores like, this is ridiculous amount of food. Yeah. I feel like we should wear a shirt that says, we're shopping for a family of 6.
With 3 teenagers.
It's ridiculous size here, but it would be not even a real week's worth of food in the States, right?
No.
Yeah, it's not like we're finding Costco or Walmart or, like Sam's Club, whatever. Like it's a different style, a different cadence of buying food. And same thing with like bread. Bread is so fresh here.
Yeah.
That again, you buy what you need for the day. You can get some of the loafy, things like in America, but most of the stuff we buy is like all this, like what would be considered artisan bread back in the States.
Artesian.
And here it's like, that's 80 cents. That's $1.40. That's $1.80. And you're like, in the States, that'd be like a $14 loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not always cheaper here, as many people think. I do want to put that out that, I think there was a time many, many years ago when people would move here and say, wow, it's much cheaper to live here than in the States. But I don't think that's true anymore. It is quite expensive to live in Lisbon.
Lisbon has dramatically changed even since we first got here.
Yeah.
Just with all the changes in dynamics, logistics, and everything else. That's true.
Yeah, we moved from Hawaii, which is very expensive, to here. And it's not that much difference, a little less, but not that much difference on the budget side. And that's, unless we're talking wine you can get for a really good bottle of wine for €2.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, this must be a crappy wine. You try it and you're like, this is amazing. And then so I'm like, okay, let me look for the good stuff. And it's like the most expensive wine is $8, several years old. You're like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So Angus, for the entrepreneur that has a dream goal, and for some reason there has felt like resistance hitting, maybe the how is getting in the way, and there is the temptation of kicking the can down the road, what would be your advice to them?
I would say, first of all, is just getting clear on the thing that your intuition is calling you, that still small voice that's saying, hey, wouldn't it be cool if? And giving that some credence, giving that some value, pay attention to that. And then second of all, when you step towards it, know that there's going to be resistance and know that that's okay. That's part of the process. Trust the process and push through. And through that, it's going to reveal to you that you're stronger, you're smarter, you're better, you're more capable, you're more able to do things beyond what you've been able to do in the past. And this is the opportunity for you to step into what life is inviting you to. And there'll be another, and then another, and then another. But staying in the status quo, staying stagnant, that's the reason why you might be feeling some of the frustration you're feeling. You might be feeling some of the anxiety or stress. And even that is a sign that there's something more for you. What is it? Maybe it's not Portugal. Maybe it's a new role. Maybe it's a new company. It doesn't matter. Listen. And that will tell you. Your intuition is very, very powerful. And it's inviting you to the life beyond your dreams. And I double dog dare you to go after it.
As we wrap up another episode of Evolve Leadership, thank you so much for taking time to invest in you. If there's to be any sustainable growth in your company or even in your relationships, you must grow first. And it's what I love to do for leaders, to help them grow, to challenge their thinking, sharpen self-awareness, to instill an unshakable confidence, and ultimately upgrade their sense of self. And we do this through our proprietary method called Agile EQ Plus, where we're leveraging agile leadership and emotional intelligence. We provide our signature training for individuals, and for businesses, we've designed a unique curriculum for company-wide learning and development. If you'd like to learn more about our training or to schedule a call, you can simply go to evolveleadership.org. And until next time, stay driven, keep climbing, and never stop evolving.